The breaking point. The universe had always seen humans as a relatively peaceful race, known for their adaptability and diplomacy. But everything changed when the ruthless Crone Empire launched a surprise attack on a remote human colony. The Crones, a race of technologically advanced conquerors, viewed humans as weak and easy prey. The peaceful colony, unprepared for such brutality, was devastated in a matter of hours. Buildings burned, and the cries of the innocent filled the air as the Crone soldiers swept through, showing no mercy. The survivors, those few who managed to hide or escape, were left with nothing but grief and anger. Among them was Lieutenant Alex Carter, a decorated military officer on leave, who witnessed the horror firsthand. The loss of his family and friends ignited a fire within him, a fire that mirrored the rage now spreading across human-controlled space. The news of the massacre spread quickly, and with it, a unified call for retribution. The Galactic Human Alliance, a coalition of human worlds and colonies, convened an emergency meeting. The normally divided factions came together, driven by a collective desire for justice. The question was no longer about whether to respond, but how. As the debate raged, intelligence reports confirmed that the Crones had set up a forward operating base on a nearby moon, using it as a staging ground for further incursions. The human military leaders knew they had to act swiftly and decisively. The Alliance decided on a counterattack, not just to retaliate but to send a message: humanity would not be bullied. The fleet assembled was impressive, a mix of military and civilian ships retrofitted for war. Alex, now appointed as the leader of a special operations unit, stood ready to lead the charge. His unit, comprised of the best soldiers and volunteers from the colony, was tasked with a critical mission: to infiltrate the Crone base and disable its defenses, paving the way for the main assault. The journey to the Crone base was tense. As the human fleet approached the moon, they activated their stealth systems, hoping to get as close as possible without detection. Alex and his team, aboard a stealth dropship, silently descended towards the surface. The Crone soldiers, confident in their superiority, were caught off guard. Alex's team moved quickly, disabling security systems and sabotaging key installations, but it wasn't long before the Crones realized something was wrong. As alarms blared, the Crone soldiers scrambled to defend their base. A fierce battle erupted, with Alex's team fighting their way through the facility. The Crones, surprised by the ferocity of the human counterattack, struggled to maintain control. Meanwhile, the main human fleet engaged the Crone ships in orbit, a battle that lit up the space around the moon. In the midst of the chaos, Alex and his team reached the control center. They planted explosives on critical systems and initiated a countdown. As they made their escape, the base erupted in a series of explosions. The human fleet, seeing the signal, launched their full-scale assault. The Crones, now disoriented and outnumbered, were forced into a hasty retreat. The victory was a significant one, but it was just the beginning. The human leaders knew that this was not just a battle won, but a war started. The Crone Empire had shown their hand, and humanity had responded with a strength and unity that surprised even themselves. The message was clear: humanity would fight back, and they would not rest until justice was served. As the human fleet regrouped, the leaders began planning their next move. The Crones had underestimated humanity, and now they would face the consequences. For Alex and his team, the mission was personal. They had lost loved ones, seen the destruction of their home, and now they had a chance to make things right. The war for survival had begun, and humanity was ready to push back with all their might. The rising storm. The successful raid on the Crone base was a rallying point for humanity. The footage of the battle and the destruction of the Crone stronghold was broadcast across human worlds, igniting a fierce resolve. Civilians, once passive observers, began to actively support the war effort. Factories converted to produce war materials, and volunteers flocked to enlist in the military. The Galactic Human Alliance, once a political body with limited influence, transformed into a unified war council, coordinating the massive mobilization of resources and personnel. Alex Carter, now a symbol of resistance, found himself at the center of the growing movement. His leadership and bravery had not gone unnoticed, and he was promoted to commander of the newly formed Human Defense Forces Special Operations Division. His first mission: to gather intelligence on the Krone Empire's movements and capabilities. The Krones, angered and humiliated by their defeat, were expected to retaliate. The question was not if, but when and where. The Alliance's intelligence network, previously focused on internal security, was now tasked with spying on the Krones. The agents uncovered disturbing information. The Krones were massing a large fleet, potentially preparing for an all-out invasion. The Krone Emperor, enraged by the loss of his outpost, had declared humanity a threat that must be eradicated. The situation was dire. The human worlds were scattered, and their combined military strength was no match for the Krone armée. But Alex and the Alliance leadership refused to back down. They devised a daring plan to level the playing field, strike at the heart of the Krone Empire. The plan was audacious, almost suicidal. The Krones were known for their heavily fortified capital, protected by powerful fleets and planetary defenses. But the Alliance believed that a direct attack, if successful, could cripple the Krone leadership and sow chaos among their ranks. The element of surprise would be crucial. As preparations began, the Alliance reached out to other species and factions within the galaxy, seeking allies. While many were wary of provoking the Krones, others saw an opportunity to weaken a common enemy. Among those willing to join the fight were the Valorians, a technologically advanced but reclusive race known for their powerful energy weapons. The Valorians had a history of skirmishes with the Krones and saw this as a chance to settle old scores. With their support, the Alliance's fleet gained a critical edge. As the fleet assembled, the atmosphere was electric. The tension was palpable, but so was the determination. The soldiers, pilots, and crew members knew the stakes. They were not just fighting for their lives, but for the survival of their species. The journey to the Krone capital was filled with a mixture of dread and anticipation. The fleet traveled through uncharted space, avoiding known Krone patrol routes. As they approached their target, the fleet split into two groups. The main force would engage the Krone defenses head-on, while a smaller, stealthier group, led by Alex, would infiltrate the planet's surface. The goal was to disable the planetary defense grid, giving the fleet a fighting chance. The battle began with a ferocity that caught the Krones off guard. The Valorian energy weapons tore through the Krone ships, creating chaos in their ranks. Meanwhile, Alex and his team slipped through the planetary defenses, landing near a critical power station. The station, heavily guarded, controlled the power supply for the entire defense grid. The fighting was intense. Alex's team, equipped with advanced weaponry and armor, faced off against elite Krone soldiers. The Krones, initially overconfident, were shocked by the humans' resilience and tactics. Despite being outnumbered, Alex's team pushed forward, disabling the station's security systems and planting explosives on the main reactor. As the countdown began, the team fought their way back to their ship. The reactor exploded, sending a shockwave through the planet's infrastructure. The defense grid faltered, and the human fleet seized the opportunity, launching a full-scale assault on the Krone capital. The battle in space was fierce. The Krones, though caught off guard, quickly regrouped and fought back with all their might. But the humans and their allies pressed on, driven by the knowledge that this was their best chance to turn the tide of the war. On the planet's surface, chaos reigned. The Krone leadership, panicked by the sudden attack, struggled to maintain control. Alex and his team, now joined by local resistance fighters, moved to secure key locations, disrupting communications and command centers. As the battle raged, it became clear that the tide was turning. The Krones, despite their superior numbers and technology, were unprepared for the sheer tenacity of the human forces. The Alliance fleet, now dominating the skies, began landing ground troops to secure the planet. The victory, when it came, was overwhelming. The Krone capital, a symbol of their empire's power, was in ruins. The human forces stood victorious, their banners flying high. The Krone emperor, captured in the final assault, was brought before the Alliance Council. The sight of the once mighty leader, now a prisoner, was a powerful symbol. For the first time, humanity had not just survived an alien attack, but had struck back with devastating effect. The victory was not without cost. Many lives were lost, and the fleet had suffered significant damage. But the message was clear. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The Krone Empire, once thought invincible, had been dealt a crushing blow. The war was far from over, but the balance of power had shifted. The human worlds, united and determined, stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The alliance of species. The aftermath of the battle saw the human forces consolidating their hold on the Krone capital. The destruction of the planetary defense grid had not only crippled the Krone military, but also disrupted their government. The once mighty empire found itself in disarray, struggling to manage the chaos that had engulfed its capital. With the Krone Emperor in custody, the Galactic Human Alliance faced a critical decision: how to proceed. The victory had opened a door, an opportunity to reshape the political landscape of the galaxy. The Alliance leaders convened a summit on the liberated planet. Representatives from various species and factions, many of whom had long suffered under Krone domination, gathered to discuss the future. The atmosphere was tense, a mix of hope and uncertainty. For many, this was the first time they had seen the Krones humbled. The Alliance proposed the formation of a new coalition, one that would promote cooperation and mutual defense against any future threats. The goal was ambitious: to unite the disparate species of the galaxy into a federation that could stand against any aggressor. The negotiations were challenging. While many species were eager to join, others were cautious, fearing retribution from the remnants of the Krone Empire or the emergence of new power struggles. The humans, now seen as liberators, played a crucial role in bridging the divides. Alex Carter, still recovering from the wounds of battle, became an unexpected diplomat. His first-hand experience of the Krone atrocities and his role in the Alliance's victories made him a respected figure among the delegates. As the summit progressed, a new threat emerged. Intelligence reports indicated that a faction of the Krone military, led by a ruthless general named Tarkus, had rallied the remnants of the Krone fleet. Tarkus, known for his brutal tactics, had vowed to reclaim the capital and avenge the Empire's defeat. The threat was real and imminent. The Alliance leaders knew they had to act quickly to prevent a counterattack. The coalition forces, now bolstered by volunteers from various species, began fortifying their positions. The human fleet, though battered, stood ready to defend the liberated planet. The battle for the capital was fierce. Tarkus's fleet, though smaller than the original Krone armada, was still formidable. The Krone soldiers, driven by a mix of loyalty and desperation, fought with a ferocity born of fear. But the Alliance forces, united by a common cause, held their ground. The Valorian energy weapons proved crucial once again, cutting through the Krone ships with devastating precision. On the ground, the fighting was intense. Tarkus had sent a contingent of elite troops to infiltrate the city and disrupt the Alliance's defenses. Alex, leading a mixed team of human and alien soldiers, found himself in the thick of the battle once more. The fight was brutal and chaotic. The Krone soldiers, heavily armored and well-trained, pushed the Alliance forces to their limits. But the defenders, motivated by the desire to protect their newfound freedom, fought back with equal determination. The streets of the capital became a battleground, with firefights erupting around every corner. As the battle raged, Alex's team received a critical mission: to capture or eliminate General Tarkus. The Krone general had made his headquarters in a fortified compound near the center of the city. Taking him down would deal a significant blow to the Krone forces and possibly end the battle. The mission was dangerous, But Alex and his team were determined. They fought their way through the heavily guarded perimeter, facing stiff resistance. The compound was a maze of corridors and defensive positions, and the Crones fought fiercely to protect their leader. But Alex's team, using their knowledge of the city's layout and advanced tactics, steadily made their way to the command center. In a climactic showdown, Alex confronted Tarkus. The Crone general, a towering figure in heavy armor, was a formidable opponent. The two clashed in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, a desperate struggle for dominance. Alex, drawing on his training and sheer willpower, managed to overpower Tarkus, capturing him alive. The fall of Tarkus was the turning point. The remaining Crone forces, seeing their leader captured, lost their will to fight. The battle was over, and the capital was secure. The victory was a pivotal moment for the Alliance. The capture of General Tarkus not only solidified their control over the Crone capital, but also sent a clear message to the galaxy. The era of Crone dominance was over. The summit, previously focused on immediate military concerns, shifted towards building a lasting peace. The delegates, now more confident in the Alliance's strength, agreed to form a new intergalactic federation. The new coalition, named the Galactic Federation, would be a council of equals dedicated to maintaining peace and security across the galaxy. Each member species would have a voice, and mutual defense agreements would ensure that no single entity could dominate the others. The establishment of the Galactic Federation was a historic achievement. It marked the beginning of a new era, one where cooperation and unity would replace fear and oppression. For Alex and the other soldiers, the victory was bittersweet. They had fought hard and sacrificed much, but the outcome was worth it. The galaxy was finally free from the shadow of the Crone Empire, and a brighter future lay ahead. Rebuilding and reconciliation. With the formation of the Galactic Federation, the focus shifted from war to rebuilding. The liberated Crone worlds, long oppressed and exploited, needed immediate humanitarian aid. The new coalition worked tirelessly to restore infrastructure, provide medical assistance, and stabilize local governments. The task was monumental, but the unity and cooperation that had won the war now fueled the reconstruction efforts. The human worlds, having borne the brunt of the conflict, played a leading role in the rebuilding process. Volunteers from across the galaxy joined in the effort, bringing expertise and resources. The sight of humans and aliens working side by side, once a rarity, became a symbol of the new era. Alex Carter, now a prominent figure in the Federation, found himself deeply involved in the reconstruction. His leadership during the war had earned him respect across the galaxy, and he used his influence to advocate for a compassionate and inclusive approach to rebuilding. One of the biggest challenges was dealing with the remnants of the Crone military. Many soldiers, indoctrinated by years of propaganda, found it difficult to accept the new reality. The Federation established rehabilitation programs to help them reintegrate into society, offering education and job training. It was a difficult process, but necessary for long-term peace. As the months passed, the initial euphoria of victory gave way to the sobering reality of the challenges ahead. The Federation faced internal and external pressures, from political disputes to economic challenges. But the spirit of cooperation that had won the war continued to guide their efforts. The former Crone Emperor, still in custody, faced trial for war crimes. The trial, broadcast across the galaxy, was a moment of catharsis for many. The evidence of atrocities committed under his rule was overwhelming, and his guilt was clear. The Federation, determined to uphold justice, sentenced him to life imprisonment. The trial was a powerful statement. No one, no matter how powerful, was above the law. Despite the successes, there were still tensions. Some species, resentful of their past oppression, were wary of trusting former enemies. The Federation worked hard to promote reconciliation, organizing cultural exchanges and dialogue initiatives. Slowly but surely, old animosities began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of shared destiny. For Alex, the transition from soldier to statesman was challenging. He missed the camaraderie of his military unit, the clarity of purpose in battle, but he understood the importance of his new role. He traveled extensively, visiting worlds across the galaxy, listening to people's concerns and advocating for unity. One of the most significant moments came during a visit to a former Crone world. The planet, ravaged by years of exploitation, was struggling to recover. Alex met with local leaders, discussing ways the Federation could help. During a public gathering, he addressed the crowd, speaking from the heart about the importance of forgiveness and cooperation. As he spoke, he noticed a young Crone girl in the crowd, holding a small human flag. The sight was a poignant reminder of how far they had come. The war had left deep scars, but it had also opened new possibilities for understanding and friendship. The girl's family, like many others, had suffered under the old regime. They had lost loved ones, endured hardship, and faced an uncertain future. But now, they were hopeful. The Federation had brought peace and stability, and for the first time, they believed in a better tomorrow. As Alex concluded his speech, the crowd erupted in applause. The moment was a powerful affirmation of the Federation's mission. They were not just rebuilding cities and economies, they were rebuilding trust and hope. The visit ended with a ceremony, where Alex and the local leaders planted a tree, symbolizing growth and renewal. The gesture, simple yet profound, captured the spirit of the new era. It was a reminder that, despite their differences, they were all part of the same galaxy, bound by a shared destiny. As the tree took root, so did the ideals of the Galactic Federation. The journey was far from over, and challenges remained. But the people of the galaxy had proven that, when united, they could overcome even the greatest of obstacles. The story of the war and its aftermath became a powerful narrative, inspiring generations to come. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the strength of unity. And while the galaxy would never forget the darkness of the Crone Empire, they would also remember the light that emerged from it. The Galactic Federation continued to grow and evolve, welcoming new members and expanding its influence. The Alliance, once a fragile coalition, became a beacon of hope and stability in the galaxy. And at the heart of it all was the memory of those who had fought and sacrificed for a better future. For Alex, the journey was a deeply personal one. He had seen the worst of what the galaxy could offer, but also the best. He had fought alongside heroes, faced down tyrants, and witnessed the birth of a new era. And as he looked out at the stars, he felt a profound sense of peace. The galaxy was finally on the path to a better future, and he had played a part in making it happen. The story of the Galactic Federation was just beginning. There would be new challenges, new adventures, and new stories to tell. But whatever the future held, one thing was certain. The people of the galaxy, united in purpose and spirit, would face it together. And in the end, that unity would be their greatest strength. The dawn of a new era. The Galactic Federation continued to strengthen its foundation, with the first official session of the Galactic Council set to convene on a neutral world. This world, chosen for its rich history of cultural diversity and peaceful coexistence, symbolized the ideals of the new era. Representatives from each member species, including the newly liberated Crones, were to participate in this historic gathering. As the council session approached, there was a palpable sense of anticipation. The leaders of the Federation knew that this meeting would set the tone for the future. It was an opportunity to solidify the principles of equality, justice, and mutual respect that had been the cornerstone of their victory. The agenda was ambitious, covering topics ranging from economic cooperation and resource management to security protocols and cultural exchange programs. Alex Carter, now a respected figure within the Federation, played a crucial role in organizing the event. His experience as a soldier and diplomat made him an invaluable mediator, capable of bridging divides and fostering dialogue. He worked closely with representatives from different species, ensuring that all voices were heard and that the decisions made reflected the diverse needs of the Federation's members. The opening ceremony was a grand affair. attended by dignitaries, military leaders, and civilians from across the galaxy. The council chamber, a vast and impressive structure, was filled with an air of solemnity and hope. As the delegates took their seats, the first speaker, a venerable elder from a peaceful aquatic species, began with a simple yet powerful message. In unity, we find strength. In diversity, we find wisdom. Let us build a future where every star shines equally bright. The Council's first order of business was to establish a framework for governance. The Federation Charter, a document outlining the rights and responsibilities of member species, was presented for approval. The Charter emphasized the principles of equality, non-aggression, and cooperation, setting the foundation for a just and peaceful interstellar society. After rigorous debate and some amendments, the Charter was ratified, marking a significant milestone in the Federation's formation. Next, the Council addressed the issue of security. The threat of remnants of the Krone military and other potential aggressors required a coordinated defense strategy. The Galactic Defense Force, GDF, was proposed, a unified military force comprising soldiers from all member species. The GDF would be responsible for defending the Federation's territories and maintaining peace and order. The Council also discussed the role of intelligence agencies and the importance of transparency and accountability in their operations. The economic recovery of the former Krone worlds was another critical topic. The Federation established a reconstruction fund, pooling resources from wealthier member worlds to assist those in need. The fund would finance infrastructure projects, education programs, and healthcare initiatives, helping to rebuild war-torn planets and improve the quality of life for their inhabitants. There was also a focus on trade agreements and economic integration, promoting prosperity and stability throughout the Federation. Cultural exchange and mutual understanding were seen as vital for long-term peace. The Council endorsed a series of initiatives, including interspecies educational programs, cultural festivals, and exchange visits. These programs aim to foster a sense of shared identity and promote respect for the rich diversity of the galaxy's cultures. The Federation also committed to preserving the history and traditions of all member species, ensuring that no culture would be forgotten or marginalized. As the Council session progressed, there were moments of tension and disagreement. Different species had different priorities and perspectives, and finding common ground was not always easy. However, the spirit of cooperation prevailed. Delegates were reminded of the hardships they had endured together and the shared vision that had brought them to this point. The memory of the Krone Empire's tyranny served as a powerful motivator to work towards a better future. The session concluded with the election of the first galactic president, a position that would serve as the symbolic head of the Federation. After a fair and open election process, the delegates elected a candidate from a neutral and respected species, known for their wisdom and diplomatic skills. The new president delivered a stirring speech, emphasizing the importance of unity, justice, and the pursuit of knowledge. The president's words resonated with the delegates and the people of the galaxy, offering a hopeful vision for the future. As the council adjourned, the delegates returned to their homeworlds, carrying with them the hope and determination to make the Federation a success. The work ahead was daunting, but the foundation had been laid. The Galactic Federation was more than a political entity. It was a beacon of hope, a promise of a better tomorrow. For Alex Carter, the journey had come full circle. From a soldier fighting against a powerful empire to a diplomat helping to build a new interstellar society, he had witnessed the worst and the best of the galaxy. As he stood among the crowd, watching the delegates depart, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction and pride. The galaxy was on the path to a brighter future, and he had played a part in making it happen. The days following the council session were filled with activity. The newly established Federation government began implementing the policies and initiatives discussed during the council. The Galactic Defense Force started recruiting and training soldiers, while the reconstruction efforts on the former Krone worlds intensified. The media across the galaxy reported on the historic events, capturing the excitement and optimism that pervaded the galaxy. The Federation also faced its first test as a unified body. Reports of piracy and lawlessness in the Outer Rim territories required immediate attention. The GDF, in its first mission, was deployed to these regions to restore order and protect civilians. The operation was a success, demonstrating the Federation's commitment to maintaining peace and security. The swift response and effective action reassured the member species and strengthened their faith in the Federation's ability to govern. As the Federation's influence grew, so did the challenges. Balancing the needs and interests of diverse species, managing resources, and addressing social and economic inequalities were complex tasks. The Federation government had to navigate these challenges carefully, ensuring that all member species felt represented and valued. It was a delicate balancing act, requiring diplomacy, compromise, and a commitment to the Federation's core principles. The cultural exchange programs also began to bear fruit. Students from different species studied together, learning about each other's histories, languages, and traditions. These exchanges fostered friendships and understanding, breaking down prejudices and stereotypes. The cultural festivals, showcasing music, art, and cuisine from across the galaxy, became popular events, celebrating the rich tapestry of the galaxy's cultures. The story of the Galactic Federation, and of those who had fought and sacrificed to make it a reality, became a legend. It was a story told and retold across the galaxy, inspiring future generations to strive for unity and justice. The memory of the Crone Empire's tyranny and the hard-won victory over it served as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and the value of freedom. For Alex Carter, the journey was a deeply fulfilling one. He had seen the galaxy at its darkest and brightest moments. He had fought alongside heroes and helped shape a new era of peace and cooperation. As he looked out at the stars, he felt a deep sense of peace and hope. The galaxy was finally on the path to a better future, and he had played a part in making it happen. And while the future held unknown challenges and adventures, he knew that the people of the galaxy, united in purpose and spirit, would face them together. Shadows of the past. As the Galactic Federation settled into its new era of peace and cooperation, remnants of the old order began to stir. The shadow of the Crone Empire, though diminished, had not entirely faded. Scattered across the galaxy were pockets of Crone loyalists, disillusioned former officials, and renegade military factions who refused to accept the new reality. They harbored deep resentment towards the Federation and plotted in secret to restore the former glory of their fallen empire. These Crone remnants operated from the fringes of known space, avoiding the watchful eyes of the Galactic Defense Force. They engaged in acts of piracy, raiding supply convoys, and spreading propaganda to undermine the Federation's legitimacy. These actions, while seemingly minor, threatened to destabilize the fragile peace that had been so painstakingly built. One of the most notorious of these groups was led by General Thrax, a former high-ranking officer of the Crone military. Thrax had been a loyal servant of the Crone Empire, known for his ruthless tactics and unyielding belief in Crone supremacy. After the Empire's fall, he refused to surrender and instead went into hiding, gathering a band of loyalists and disaffected elements from various species. Under his leadership, this group became a significant threat to the Federation's stability. The Federation's intelligence services, aware of these rising threats, intensified their efforts to locate and neutralize these rogue elements. A special task force was formed, comprising operatives from various member species, tasked with infiltrating and dismantling these groups. The mission was delicate. The Federation sought to avoid heavy-handed tactics that could alienate populations sympathetic to the Crones. As the task force worked behind the scenes, the Galactic Council deliberated on the best course of action. There were debates over how to address the remnants of the Crone Empire. Some council members advocated for a strong military response, while others urged a more measured approach, focusing on winning hearts and minds through diplomacy and economic aid. Amid these discussions, a series of coordinated attacks shocked the galaxy. Krone loyalists struck at key Federation facilities, including a major spaceport and a communication hub. These attacks, orchestrated with precision, caused significant damage and resulted in civilian casualties. The perpetrators left messages claiming responsibility, condemning the Federation as an illegitimate government imposed by force. The attacks galvanized public opinion. Many demanded swift and decisive action against the Krone remnants, fearing a resurgence of violence. The Galactic Council, faced with growing pressure, authorized a comprehensive crackdown on suspected Krone loyalist activities. The Galactic Defense Force and the Special Task Force launched joint operations to root out these groups, conducting raids and arrests across multiple systems. General Thrax, however, proved to be an elusive adversary. Despite the Federation's efforts, he managed to evade capture, continually shifting his base of operations. His broadcasts continued to incite rebellion, appealing to those who felt marginalized or disillusioned with the Federation's new order. Thrax's rhetoric, though divisive, found a receptive audience among certain segments of the population, particularly those who had prospered under the old regime. In response, the Federation intensified its counter-propaganda efforts, highlighting the benefits of the new order and the horrors of the Krone Empire's past atrocities. They emphasized stories of reconciliation and progress, showcasing the Federation's efforts to rebuild war-torn worlds and support displaced populations. These campaigns aimed to counter Thrax's narrative and reinforce the Federation's legitimacy. The attacks galvanized public opinion. Many demanded swift and decisive action against the Krone remnants, fearing a resurgence of violence. The Galactic Council, faced with growing pressure, authorized a comprehensive crackdown on suspected Krone loyalist activities. The Galactic Defense Force and the Special Task Force launched joint operations to root out these groups, conducting raids and arrests across multiple systems. General Thrax, however, proved to be an elusive adversary. Despite the Federation's efforts, he managed to evade capture, continually shifting his base of operations. His broadcasts continued to incite rebellion, appealing to those who felt marginalized or disillusioned with the Federation's new order. Thrax's rhetoric, though divisive, found a receptive audience among certain segments of the population, particularly those who had prospered under the old regime. In response, the Federation intensified its counter-propaganda efforts, highlighting the benefits of the new order and the horrors of the Krone Empire's past atrocities. They emphasized stories of reconciliation and progress, showcasing the Federation's efforts to rebuild war-torn worlds and support displaced populations. These campaigns aimed to counter Thrax's narrative and reinforce the Federation's legitimacy. Amidst this tension, Alex Carter found himself drawn back into the fray. Having served as a key figure in the Federation's formation, he was now tasked with leading a diplomatic mission to a former Krone stronghold. The planet had been a center of Krone culture and military power, and its inhabitants were deeply divided about their future. Some supported integration into the Federation, while others longed for a return to Krone rule. Alex's mission was to engage with the planet's leaders and factions, seeking to build consensus and diffuse the growing unrest. He understood the delicate nature of his task. Any misstep could ignite violence. He approached the mission with a blend of firmness and empathy, drawing on his military experience and diplomatic skills. Upon arrival, Alex was greeted with a mixture of suspicion and hostility. Many of the planet's inhabitants viewed the Federation as an occupying force. They resented the loss of their former status and the perceived imposition of foreign values. Alex faced a challenging situation, needing to navigate deep-seated grievances and distrust. In meetings with local leaders, Alex emphasized the Federation's commitment to justice and equality. He acknowledged the difficulties of transition and the legitimate concerns of the population. He also made it clear that the Federation would not tolerate violence or attempts to undermine peace. Through open dialogue and patient negotiation, he sought to build bridges and find common ground. Despite initial resistance, Alex's efforts began to bear fruit. He managed to secure agreements with key factions, promising economic aid and greater local autonomy in exchange for their cooperation. He also facilitated the establishment of a local council, allowing the planet's inhabitants to have a say in their governance. These measures, while not erasing all tensions, helped to reduce the immediate threat of violence. Meanwhile, the Special Task Force continued to close in on General Thrax. Through a combination of intelligence gathering and covert operations, they tracked him to a hidden base on a remote moon. A plan was put in place for a decisive operation to capture him and dismantle his network. The operation, codenamed Silent Dawn, was executed with precision. Federation forces, supported by local allies, launched a surprise assault on Thrax's base. The battle was intense, with Thrax's loyalists putting up fierce resistance. However, the superior training and coordination of the Federation forces prevailed. Thrax himself was captured, ending his campaign of terror. The capture of General Thrax marked a significant victory for the Federation. It sent a strong message that attempts to destabilize the new order would not be tolerated. The Galactic Council, in a statement, reaffirmed its commitment to peace and justice, vowing to continue efforts to integrate all former Crone territories into the Federation. In the aftermath, Alex Carter returned to the Federation capital, exhausted but satisfied with his work. The mission had been challenging, but it had also underscored the importance of dialogue and diplomacy. The experience reinforced his belief in the Federation's principles and the need for continued vigilance. As the Federation continued to consolidate its power, it faced the ongoing challenge of maintaining unity and addressing the diverse needs of its member species. The threat posed by Crone loyalists served as a reminder of the dangers of complacency. The Federation needed to remain adaptable and responsive, ready to address emerging threats and opportunities. The legacy of the Crone Empire continued to cast a long shadow over the galaxy. For many, the scars of the past were still fresh, and the path to healing and reconciliation was long. However, the Federation's progress, despite setbacks, offered hope for a brighter future. It was a future where differences could be respected, conflicts resolved through dialogue, and where every being, regardless of their origin, could find a place in the stars. As the sun set on another day in the Galactic Federation, the stars above shone brightly, a testament to the resilience and determination of those who sought to build a better galaxy. For Alex Carter and countless others, the journey was far from over, but the direction was clear. The Federation had faced its first major test and emerged stronger, united in purpose and spirit. The galaxy, with all its diversity and complexity, continued to spin on, and as long as there were challenges to face and dreams to pursue, the people of the Federation would continue to reach for the stars, building a legacy of peace and cooperation that would endure for generations to come. The dawn of a new era. The capture of General Thrax and the dismantling of his loyalist network marked a turning point for the Galactic Federation. With one of the most significant threats to stability neutralized, the Federation could focus on consolidating its gains and fostering unity among its member species. However, the path forward was not without challenges, as old wounds needed healing and new opportunities required careful nurturing. As the Federation entered this new phase, the Galactic Council convened to address several critical issues. The integration of former Crone territories, the rebuilding of war-torn worlds, and the establishment of a more inclusive and representative governance structure were high on the agenda. These discussions were marked by a renewed sense of purpose and optimism, tempered with the understanding that the journey ahead would be complex and demanding. Rebuilding and reconciliation. One of the Federation's primary focuses was the reconstruction of planets ravaged by the Crone Empire's reign and the subsequent conflicts. The Federation launched a comprehensive rebuilding program, channeling resources into infrastructure, healthcare, and education. This initiative aimed not only to restore physical structures, but also to rebuild trust and social cohesion among the affected populations. The planet Tarsus II, where Captain Alex Carter had led a daring rescue mission, became a symbol of this reconstruction effort. Once a bleak landscape of oppression and despair, it began to transform into a thriving hub of commerce and culture. Former slaves and refugees, now free citizens, played an active role in the planet's governance, embodying the Federation's ideals of equality and justice. To promote reconciliation, the Federation established Truth and Reconciliation Commissions on various planets, including former Krone strongholds. These commissions provided a platform for victims and perpetrators of past atrocities to share their stories, seek forgiveness, and build a shared understanding of the past. The process was painful and challenging, but it was a necessary step toward healing and unity. A new political order. With the galaxy's political landscape shifting, the Galactic Council faced the task of creating a governance structure that could accommodate the diverse interests and cultures of its member species. The Council's initial composition, dominated by a few powerful species, was increasingly seen as inadequate to represent the Federation's growing diversity. In response, the Council proposed a series of constitutional reforms. These reforms included expanding the number of council seats, ensuring proportional representation for all member species, and creating advisory bodies to provide input from various sectors of society, including youth, marginalized communities, and non-governmental organizations. The reforms also emphasized transparency and accountability. The Council established independent oversight mechanisms to prevent corruption and abuse of power. These measures were designed to strengthen the legitimacy of the Federation's institutions and ensure that all members felt included in the decision-making process. Exploration and innovation. With stability gradually being restored, the Federation also turned its attention to exploration and scientific advancement. The spirit of curiosity and discovery that had long driven humanity and other species now found new expression in the Federation's exploration programs. These initiatives aim to explore uncharted regions of the galaxy, seeking knowledge, resources, and potential new allies. A new generation. As the Federation worked to secure its future, a new generation of leaders and citizens began to emerge. These individuals, many of whom had grown up in the aftermath of the Krone Empire's fall, brought fresh perspectives and ideas. They were less burdened by the old enmities and more focused on building a future based on cooperation and mutual respect. Young leaders, activists, and innovators played a crucial role in shaping the Federation's policies and priorities. They advocated for environmental sustainability, social justice, and technological innovation. They also pushed for greater inclusion and representation of marginalized groups, ensuring that the Federation's progress was truly shared by all. One notable figure among this new generation was Laia, a young diplomat from the once persecuted species of the Uroids. Her efforts to promote intercultural dialogue and understanding earned her widespread respect and recognition. Laia's work helped to bridge divides between species, fostering a sense of shared identity and purpose within the Federation. The legacy of unity. As the Galactic Federation continued to evolve, it became clear that its greatest strength lay in its diversity and unity. The Federation was not just a political entity. It was a community of worlds and species united by a common vision of peace, justice, and exploration. This unity was not always easy to achieve, and there were ongoing challenges and disagreements, but the commitment to dialogue and cooperation remained steadfast. The legacy of the Federation's founding generation, including figures like Captain Alex Carter and the heroes of the Human Krone War, was honored and celebrated. Their courage and determination had laid the foundation for a new era of peace and prosperity. The Federation's history, with all its struggles and triumphs, became a source of inspiration for future generations. As the galaxy looked toward the future, the Federation's leaders and citizens knew that the work of building a better world was never complete. There would always be new challenges to face, new frontiers to explore, and new opportunities to seize. But with a shared commitment to the values of the Federation, they faced the future with hope and determination. Under the starlit skies of countless worlds, the Galactic Federation stood as a beacon of hope and unity. It was a testament to what could be achieved when diverse beings came together, not as conquerors or rivals, but as partners in a grand adventure. The dawn of a new era had begun, and the possibilities were as limitless as the stars themselves.